Yeah, so this revenue projection for this quarter is looking pretty low. You know, I think we need to sell a little bit more HE keyboards to make up our gap. Yeah, that's actually a good idea. Plus, I think we need to start selling a little bit more HE switch. What the heck's that sound? Hey Scott, is that you making all that noise? Oh, this? Alright, I got you. So you're saying HE Come on! Scott, what is your problem? Welcome back to the channel, guys. This is Scott K. Yes, we love mechanical keyboards, but many people do not, surprisingly, right? They freak out about the noise the keyboard makes and how it disturbs the peace in the office and everywhere else, hence the birth of many quiet mechanical keyboards like the one I have built before. But what if you just don't care about what people think? Or you just don't care about people? Then there's a good keyboard for you, the anti-silent Class 1800 by MMStudio. This interesting keyboard is literally the perfect layout for work, but with the twist like this. So the Class 1800 is exactly as it's described. It's an 1800 layout keyboard, around 96 switches, just shy of a full-size 104. This one specifically is actually quite interesting. The Class 1800 was modeled after a legendary classic, the Cherry G80 1800. G80 1800? What is that? Do you know the Doge keycap colorway? It actually comes from a Doge computer from the 1980s. And yes, variants of that computer use the Cherry G80 1813. While the classic G80 was mostly plastic, the revival of this classic in this situation, the Class 1800, is made of aluminum and other metals. The case is a very hefty design, but MMStudio did a very good job of keeping the overall shape of the keyboard, like the slanted front end and the overall profile. It's very reminiscent of the classic keyboard. Now, if you look into the keyboard though, you see the massively heavy brass weight insert, and even below, the Class 1800 has additional weights. This one I have is matte stainless steel PVD, but you can also get it with brass as well. Both metals are super heavy. This is the reason why this entire keyboard is so heavy. Overall, the finish, it's excellent. And the silver that I have right here has a very nice glow. It's very smooth finish that I appreciate. However, this is a prototype, so there are some oddities like this one. Namluck. I assume it's supposed to be Numlock, not Namluck. Anyways, now the most interesting thing about this keyboard and how it deviates from the classic G80, it's this module. So this has a quick connect module to swap out different features. The one I have it's essentially a noisemaker module. It has a solenoid and a buzzer inside so that you can absolutely disturb the peace when you're typing. Hence why this is the anti-silent keyboard. If you don't want to get murdered though, you can turn it off or swap this module for something more peaceful. MMStudio also offers the knob module, but what if you like the violence? Then this one, it's the one for you. But at the end of the day, while the design of the keyboard is very classic, right? It's an homage, the components are very much modern. The Class 1800 is actually a multi-mount keyboard. This means it has more than one. It can actually be mounted as a classic top mount as well as a gasket mount. But that gasket mount actually has an interesting twist. We can cover that later. So I have two plates for this sample, which is brass and aluminum. Two very classic materials when it comes to keyboards, right? MMStudio decided to make the plates one solid piece, right? Which makes them massive and heavy, especially the brass one. What is interesting about these plates though is that they're very straight to the point. It has some cuts here and there in the plate, but honestly, they're not really there for flex. Moving on to the PCB, once again, a very classic 1.6mm PCB with no flex cuts or separation or anything like that. One giant piece. In this situation, I kind of wish they made it green like the OG stuff, but whatever. However, it does feature KO hot swap sockets, although you could stick with a traditional solder one as well. Even as a hot swap, you do get multiple layout options, which is a nice touch. Finally, yes, no matter how classic the keyboard is, you have foam now, lots of it. So we have the lowercase foam right here, then we have the under PCB foam, then we have the ubiquitous PE foam, then the plate foam to finish everything off. And yes, there is this silicone liner thing that's right here. This thing is actually when you do a plateless build. Yes, this thing can be plateless and gasket mounted, which is very interesting. You place the PCB into the silicone liner, install these little silicone grommets onto the PCB tabs, then the entire thing kind of just sits into the case of the keyboard like friction fit. Very interesting design overall and somewhat unconventional in my opinion, but hey, you know what? Try new things. Okay, so for the first build though, I want to try something more classic. So I'm going to go with the classic brass plate here, top mounted, minimum foam as possible. To keep things a little bit more OG, I decided to use a set of Cherry MX Blacks here as well. I did decide to keep the single layer of thin case foam into the build, just in case, you know, there's a lot of space in there below, so I wanted to eliminate any chance of any hollowness. But honestly, given the solidness of this case, I really don't think it's necessary. I just kind of did it for a good measure. For keycaps, I decided to go with a set of Kineticlabs CO keycaps. So I really initially wanted to use the classic Doge keycaps because I felt like it was really appropriate for this keyboard, but I realized that my Doge set doesn't have the numpad for it. So seals, it was close enough. Overall though, it does look very well matched to this keyboard and I have no regrets with this combination. So this classic rendition of the G80 looks fantastic. As you'd expect, since it is a top-mounted keyboard with a stiff brass plate, don't expect much like flex or give in this configuration. But it is on the stiffer side. Not uncomfortable, just stiffer. What about the sound? Let's check it out. The Class 1800 in this configuration has that classic crisp top mount sound. Honestly, even with the minimal foam, the keyboard sounds very solid and holds its own very well. In my opinion, the case foam I put in there, I don't think it's really adding too much into it, so you'll be fine without it if you want to do a full no foam build. It's actually a testament to the Class 1800's acoustic design, which, you know what, they did a good job here. Now, what about the plateless build? I was actually more curious about this plateless build than anything else. It's a very interesting mounting style, you know? So I wonder how it actually types and how it also sounds. As expected, this configuration, it's much more bouncy, right? So if comfort or softness is something that you are going after, this right here is probably the configuration that you want. Even as a hot swap, these switches kind of they got stuck in there and stayed in there no problem, right? I had no problem with them falling out or anything like that. So, hey, no issues. What about the sound though? Let's check it out. So very interesting here. Many keyboards can end up with a very thin sounding profile in a plateless mount like this. But in this situation, that's not the case. It does go up a little bit in terms of pitch, but when you look at it overall, it's more of a pleasant clack. It's not really a thin sounding keyboard at all. Honestly, this makes the keyboard more unique in my opinion, and I would actually, for my build, use it like this more so than with the plate top mounted. Now, none of that matters if you decide to turn on the crazy mode anyways. Both the solenoid and the buzzer pretty much shatters any sense of peace around the keyboard. So, you know what? Let's go and go at it. If you're trying to piss off as many people as possible or get fired or murdered, this keyboard got you covered. I wonder how quickly someone will come and punch me in the face if I literally took this to like a coffee shop. I mean, it's so heavy, but if I dragged it over there and I started using it, right? I don't think I really want to find out, but I assume someone's gonna come and punch me in the face. So the Class 1800 by MMStudio it's on group buy right now with price around $360, and it's gonna run until mid-October-ish of this year. So if you're interested, check it out in the description below, right? Overall, the Class 1800 is an updated rendition to a very classic keyboard, but they got most of it very right. It can be a great work keyboard with the necessary numpad on the right, and at the same time, it can be a most hated person in the office keyboard as well, but doing it all in style. As usual, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll have more content for you in the future. Thank you. Yes, I know the studio is kind of new, still kind of getting things set up. I don't think my I don't think my mic is failing out anymore, so that's good at least. But I still need to get the acoustics in this room a little bit better because I could hear a lot of echo. But bear with me here. I know I've been moving around a lot, and once again, it takes some time for me to set this thing all up and make it right. But thank you for the support. I truly, genuinely mean that. Until next time.